I'll be reading some quotes from the Tao of Jeet Kune. We are on page 18. If you have any reflections to share, please share it. I'll briefly pause after each quote. Truth is relationship with the opponent, constantly moving, living, never static. Truth has no path. Truth is living and therefore changing. It has no resting place, no form, no organized institution, no philosophy. When you see that, you will understand that this living thing is also what you are. You cannot express and be alive through static, put together form, through stylized movement.
For me, that just symbolizes the journey of life. It's just a movement, being present, not being caught up in destination.
That gets me to think about what Shen was talking about just briefly before you guys came, talked about black belts and things like that. This part gets me to think about that. Truth is living and therefore changing. So, like, to me, a black belt is kind of symbolizing something that's stagnant. It doesn't have to be a black belt. It could be a heavyweight world championship. It could be a gold medal. It could be gold belt. It could be whatever, used to symbolize something that's static. But truth is living and therefore changing. So somebody that's seen as weak could essentially become strong. Someone that's strong could essentially become weak. So it's always changing. So any type of symbol that you try to use in order to symbolize something that's static, it will never represent truth. And that's one of the things that I disagree with when it comes to, black belts or whatever type of static ranking system or whatever symbol. I think that with martial arts, with Kung Fu, you just aim towards bettering yourself, and it's a constant journey. It's always changing. Whatever you're doing now, just do the best you can. Try to be the best that you can. When you get older, you're double your age right now, you still do the best that you can, and you just change. You change with change, and the only thing to me when it comes to something like Kung Fu is just how long has this person been doing his hard work. And that just gives you a general gives you a general idea of how much time or how much dedication, hard work that this person has in what he does. But truth is living and therefore changing. It's just a short statement, but it just means a lot because we're constantly changing. So how could you just say that this person has reached this level and that's it? Things could just change in an instant. Like somebody who's very respected at this moment and loved by everybody, he could just do one thing. He could just go on a killing spree all of a sudden out of nowhere, and then he loses that respect immediately. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of these people that are famous, Kobe Bryant, then he got caught up in some type of thing in the media with rape charges and they did the same thing with Tupac. You know, they locked him up and said that he sodomized somebody. Michael Jackson. You know, he was loved. If you look at the videos from the past, he was loved by so many people, and then all of a sudden, they accused him of something, and then he's just shamed by the world. You know, it's always changing. Truth is living, and therefore it's changing. I think that's something very important to remember in your journey in training. Is don't get too caught up in titles or ranks and feel like, oh, you know, I'm done, you know, I'm already the best and there's no room for improvement. I think that's the problem. That's the main problem I have with black belts. You know, people be like, oh, I got my black belt, you know, then that's it. Or people like, oh, what belt you are? Oh, I'm black belt, and then that's it. I just don't like that idea. You know, I feel that it's better to always, in my opinion, to always just think that you're a white belt, like all the time. Like, you're always beginning, learning, developing. And if you truly, like, feel that you're a white belt, then I think that's kind of more like real humbleness. Like, you're not pretending that you're humble, but you're really humble. Like, you really feel that you're equal, or not equal, but you're just being yourself. You're not trying to impress other people. You're just being yourself. You know, and not trying to prove to other people. And that's the main thing that sets this school apart from a lot of schools out there. It's about proving yourself and competing and getting black belts or trophies or awards for working hard. But in here, it's like you just work hard because this is a part of who you are. You don't need any type of, you know, recognition for working hard. It's just who you are. And that to me is like, it's closer to truth, you know. Like,
See, can I add on to that?
yes.
What you also, what the Tao of Jeet Kune go with that quote, truth is living, or truth is alive. I'm paraphrasing, but it gets me to think of another quote of pertaining to truth by a trainer named Tim Grover. He's like, well, a lot of people say, oh, well, there's beast mode. He's like, there's no mode, there's just beasts. And then it gets me to think about what you say with like martial arts. Like, if you're a martial artist, there is no, okay, you're a black belt or a martial arts when you walk through the door or in the school. And when you're outside, you just turn it off. It's a continuous thing. It's, if you're practicing, you're always practicing. It's not a job. It's like being president of the United States. Like, all right, you're always the president. There is no off days until your term is up.
Yeah, I just like to have you guys remember to practice martial arts as a way of life. So, like, not just about in here and being assessed by me or whoever, but just even in your outside life. It doesn't even have to deal with training, like, physically, but you could just notice the way that you treat certain people, and then you could better yourself in certain areas that you feel that you need to better yourself in. It could just be something as simple as treating other people a certain way, or, you know, even stuff at home, like with the feng shui, people call it, or feng shui. You know, just kind of your environment, improving your environment, your living space, is like a way of life. Just like your everyday appreciation of certain things, you might catch yourself like, hey, you know, I'm taking certain things for granted. I'm being unconscious. I'm not appreciating this moment. And only you could kind of feel that within yourself. And then you could catch yourself and be like, you know what, I could better myself in this area. I feel that I'm taking, you know, it could be anything. You know, my children, my wife, my kids, my friends. your life for granted, you know, like if you're smoking a cigarette or whatever, and then you could decide yourself, you know, let me stop that because I want to appreciate my life more. You know, it's just stuff that you decide to do outside of this actual training here in your personal life, where everything comes together as a whole and you essentially kind of become your own master and, you know, taking yourself to a higher level in all areas. You know, it's not just about, oh, you know, who could spar the best or who's the strongest or who's the fastest. Okay, that person's the black belt. It's not about that. It's about like your whole life and the way that you're living it. Like, are you reaching your potential for that moment? And we could all know that we could always improve. So then how can you, even if you could reward yourself with a black belt, how can you reward yourself with a black belt knowing that you have so much more to improve upon? To me, the whole concept of black belt just doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't, you know. But this type of philosophy, this understanding, this statement just alone will explain the whole idea of going beyond the black belt into something that can't be symbolized by anything that you could see. Truth is living and therefore changing. I think it's always good to remember that. Classical forms dull your creativity, condition and freeze your sense of freedom. You no longer be, but merely do, without sensitivity.
I'd like to add something to that.
Yes.
You merely do it without sensitivity. It's like, to me, it's like youth, like when you do something like for the first time, like when you're young, everything is like, you're so sensitive to everything. Like first day of school, like everything is like super important. But like by the time you reach like your senior year or later on in your education or whatever, it can be going through the motions. You don't appreciate it as much, or just in life in general, it's like, oh, well, I've been there and done that. But if we can hold on to the sensitivity, then we can learn something and we can have that freshness every day.
Yes, that's a very interesting word that explains meditation in a different way. That can explain meditation in a different way. Sensitivity. So, you know, just being more sensitive to everything around you. So meditation is essentially teaching you, we use the word awareness a lot, but sensitivity is similar, like sensitive, like just think about all your senses, you know, because meditation is heightening all your senses. So touch, you know, sight, sound, taste, you know, like pay attention to all your senses and heighten all the senses. And then that's essentially what meditation is trying to teach you. Is a lot of us have become desensitized, where we don't feel anything. Or, you know, meditation is trying to get you to be aware, completely aware. So, in a combative sense, like you want to be in meditation when you are in combat, completely aware. If you are not in meditation and you're just dozing off, or you're thinking about what you have to do tomorrow, or whatever, when you're thinking about whatever, you're not in the moment, then you will not be able to perform, you know, at that moment of sparring or that threatening situation, because you're not sensitive. Just think about somebody that's just sleeping. He's just asleep. Can't hear anything, can't see anything, can't feel anything. And when are the people most vulnerable? When they're sleeping. If you want to kill somebody, the easiest way to kill him, just kill him when he's sleeping. So he's the least sensitive when he's sleeping. So just think about the opposite of sleeping is being very, very aware and conscious of your surroundings and everything. Your thoughts, your feelings, whatever. And meditation is trying to teach you to be more sensitive. So you reconnect. But just think about even something like intimacy, and affection, which a lot of people value, because this world is very, sex driven. But what is sex? Sex is essentially just sensitivity to touch. Like hugging, kissing, whatever. Like that's a valuing of sense. So essentially meditation is heightening all your senses. So then you live a more complete life. Just think about it like this. You're sitting down and say your legs fall asleep. You notice a huge difference when your legs fell asleep opposed to when it's not fall asleep. So you need to be aware of every little thing that you can improve upon your senses, and that will better your meditation. Like even right now, when you're meditating and you're silent, then you might hear that water running, where typically you might ignore that, you just don't hear it because you're so consumed in your thoughts. You're just not being aware. So a lot of people might drive not being aware, and then they get in car accidents, right? There's just a lot of times that you could catch yourself not being aware. So you want to improve upon your awareness, heighten your sensitivity, develop your meditation. And as I stated, these are things that are a part of your entire life, not just in here, but in your entire life. And it's going to be a lifetime of improvement.
I want to add something to that.
Go ahead.
Based, because I'm going to follow on Bruce Lee. Based what he's trying to say, to my understanding, is that first, let's talk about classic. Not to be stuck to classic. What I'm thinking, trying to say is that if you're in the martial arts, you want to learn what the Sifu is trying to teach you. Pay attention to him. Learn as much as you can. Do the drills. But don't be close-minded and think this all up there, this all the stuff you could be learned. Like for example, meditation is a great point because before when I started, it was always about my ego, it was always about getting in there and destroying people, because I know I'm capable of doing it. But when you talk about sensitivity, it means that even though you're in a battle with your opponent, or you're sparring or whatever, you got to be sensitive to him. You might throw certain blows that could hurt him, or get in a situation and you could be hurt too, so you got to be sensitive to your partner, sensitive to your opponent. Like if you come in to think about the fight between Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris, even though it was fighting to the death. At the end of that movie, at the end of that sequence, he came to Chuck Norris when he was down, when he was already dead, and he covered him up with his own black belt. He was sensitive to him. Meaning, I learned that even though when you're fighting somebody, be sensitive to your opponent, because certain blow you do or hit you do, it could be hurt badly, so you have to be sensitive to the situation like that. And another thing too, you can't just stuck on one form, because he clearly stated that classic don't always work. It's constantly evolving. So just like Shot Fud or Wing Chun, he used to start with that, but he disliked it at the end because he realized it took a long time to take down his opponent. You always got to be free. So what he's trying to say, be free, is that even though you learn certain things in school, you go to, not necessarily it's going to work on in the real world, because it's constantly evolving. You got to be free. You got to be meditative. You got to be something that I greatly appreciate meditation, because it kind of changed my perspective of martial art a great deal. Because I think people in MMA don't have that. They just go in the ring to just destroy the opponent and beat them to death, not having meditation. They have a little meditation in their senses to their opponent. They probably wouldn't be so aggressive in mind to kill people. And I know we're surrounded in this society that people just want to take and kill. Even though we live in a society like that, we still got to be paying attention to the surroundings and don't be sensitive, like in the sense that be aware of your surroundings, be aware of what's going around you. Even if I want to fight with somebody today or tomorrow, I'm still going to be sensitive to him in the sense that, okay, I took him out, you know, I got to deal with the conscience of his debt on my shoulders. So it's like meditation is great access to martial art. If you don't have that, you really don't have anything. And that's what I think what he's trying to say. You can't stick to classic, it's always evolving. You got to be as sensitive to your opponent, sensitive to life. You got to have meditation. When you spar or fight, you got to be meditative. You can't just be robotic, because if you be robotic, you become predictable. You got to constantly be free, like a dance. Feel the beat, feel the opponent, feel him out, see what's worked, what's not work. And like I was looking again, and I will finish with this. I was looking again at the video between Shazam and the new guy. Shazam was precise in his hits, because he was just capitalizing on the open spot. He was more meditated than the young guy. The young guy was more, of course, full of energy and electrifying and just spontaneous. But you could tell the difference between somebody is meditating and somebody is not. If you're meditating, you get to see stuff that other people can't see. And that's why we should spar, meditate and look for the open spot and capitalize on your opponent's mistakes. That's all I got to say.
A practical application of this. See, we talked about, what are we doing outside of the moon, and martial arts being a way of life. I'm trying to apply that to my work as well. I'm working with clients. I try to tell them, 50 minutes one time a week of meeting is not enough. It's not so much what we do in session and room, but what are you doing once you leave. And I wanted to share something in my life that I've noticed that I apply directly to the meditation work, the spiritual work. For me, meditation gives me access to the spiritual. And when I think about spiritual, I think about energy. And I like being in my yard a lot. I'll sit out in the yard with friends, wherever, sometimes by myself at night. There's critters in Evanston, raccoons, skunks, possum, and they move around at night, and the monks are quiet as hell. Like if you're not sensitive to their presence, you barely even notice that they were there. And I notice, and people always think that I'm odd, that are in the yard with me. When I sense something in the yard, and when I sense an energy, it's really bizarre. It's like I'll sense a presence of energy that was not there a minute ago. It's not like I'm hearing something. It's not like I'm focusing on listening for something. I'm just in the yard chilling, talking, whatever. But then suddenly I'll sense something. Everyone else is still talking, whatever, not paying attention, and I'll say, oh, look over there. Fucking skunk walking like around on the side of the fence, or a possum like on the house right next to me going over the garage, or a raccoon like in the tree looking at us.
They're vicious too.
It's funny, man. I don't know, man. All I can say is meditation. It's just really interesting when you're sensitive, all the way back to what Brandon was saying about just the sensitivity and connecting that to awareness. This stuff works, man. I'm telling you.
It do work.
It's practical and it's applicable to everyday life.
One thing got me thinking about after Bang was speaking in relation to the sparring, the meditation, I feel that the mass media has kind of deceived people into believing that sparring or effectiveness in combat is solely based on your physical attributes, and that's it. Like, oh, who's faster, who's stronger, who has more endurance. I think what's not shown, that to me is closer to the truth, is the person that has greater meditation is going to be the one that's going to be on top when it comes to the sparring situation. And usually when you have more life experiences, you live longer, your meditation will get better. So I feel that a martial artist who gets older, but he's not necessarily losing his physical that much, but then his meditation improves, keeps improving and improving, he could essentially get even better and better at sparring, even as he ages. Because it's all about awareness to me, and almost that single point of contact that will end the fight. Because I mean, when I was training for street survival, it's just that one moment where it could mean that you live or that you die. And this is very, very apparent in just weapons training. Like, you're just caught unaware and then you get shot to death. But if you were aware, then you live. And that, to me, can be transferred, the same concept, to the sparring, even unarmed combat. You get that one hit in, then it ends the fight. It's not about, oh, who has most endurance or who could run the mile the fastest or who could last the longest. I mean, to me, it's much more about awareness more than anything. Not even just about speed, but just awareness. Yes, speed, endurance, and strength is important, but that meditation can really make the difference between living and dying. I keep telling you guys about that guy who sparred with us not too long ago, and they got in a car accident. So what happened? He fell asleep in the back seat. Somebody else was driving. The person that was driving got in an accident, and it almost ended his life. So, as I stated, when you're not aware, when you're sleeping, say you're the fastest person in the world, you're Usain Bolt, but you're sleeping, somebody kills you. Does it matter how fast you are at that moment? You're sleeping. So you could be physically sleeping, or you could be sleeping mentally. And that's sleeping mentally is basically having thoughts. You have too many thoughts, that means you're less aware. When you have no thoughts, no mind, and you're just in tune, then that's when you're going to be reaching your potential in your sparring, for example, and just many aspects of life. Alright, so we're going to stop right there. That's page 19. Tao of Jeet Kune.